Okay.
Sure.
Punky. You could start with your bad impression of Henry.
Punky.
Oh God, that's terrible.
Yeah, this is
And he
terrible.
didn't even say
Okay.
it once in the episode.
No, there
What was the
were
dog's
more
name again?
pressing matters going on.
The dog's name, I think, was Benjamin.
No, was it?
No.
Baxter?
Baxter. No, that's Ron Jeremy.
Oh, no,
Ron Burgundy.
God, what was the name of the dog?
Brian?
Had a actual like boy's name.
Yeah.
All right,
Jeff.
so while one of us checks it out, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very special episode of the Better Half podcast. Yes, Larry here, Frank here,
Brandon
Tartikoff.
Brandon is not here.
Brandon's not. No, Brandon's long gone.
Easily a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, if that didn't already ruin the beginning of the episode, so
And
that's what we're doing.
Yes, the very special episode when every comedy steps back for a moment and takes a real look at society and at themselves. And Frank, we have our annual guest to the Better Half.
Who?
Yes, the very special guest for our very special episode, the one, the only, Anthony Rippo of the Retro Gamers podcast. Welcome, Anthony.
Oh, thank you, and thank God there is one and only one of me.
We do say
Well,
that
that's
all
what
the
we
time.
really need. I mean, because you are a unique person, and one makes you special, and you are special.
Oh, thank you.
And no, I don't want to
am I
for
very
you.
special, like an episode?
Yes,
you are very special.
This is a comedy, and you're coming in to bring down the comedy.
Oh, is that what it is?
Ouch. She was fired.
Ouch. For our new listeners, as you may not know, every year around Christmas time, we do a very special episode of the Better Half podcast, where we're usually all jokes all year, and this year time of the year we try to get serious by making fun of a very special episode of an 80s sitcom so far, or 70s as well. So far we've done year one was just actually me and Larry. We did Happy Days, the Christmas episode when Fonzie was all alone on Christmas, and season 2 we did
Saved by the Bell.
Second year we did
Saved by the Bell, and Jesse was on.
Excited.
Yeah, I'm so scared. And that's when Anthony joined us.
Last year, that's when Anthony joined us and has been a permanent staple of the very special episode. Last year we did, what did we do last year?
Family Ties.
Oh,
when,
yes. The slap heard round the world.
Yes.
Forrest Gump slapped Marty McFly back in time. So
yeah, and the guy from Tremors just looked along like the beta boy that he is. So, hey, don't hit my son.
Hey, you get your damn hands off my son. And Anthony has been a very fun, integral part of the show, actually, because he has this, has the knowledge of because I don't remember half this stuff. And when we were talking about this year, some interesting titles came up, but the one that we're going to talk about this year, it's pure 80s through and through, Ant. I really believe we picked the cream of the crop.
Oh yeah, there's nothing better than this episode. There's no question about it. I defy you to find another episode that will top this one.
Well, that will wait till next year because I have a few that I wanted to use, but unfortunately we already did a Family Ties one last year, so we didn't want to do a repeat because I found a doozy. So I have that one written down on a Post-it on my wall for next year. So
nice.
I'm pretty excited. But anyway, this is Punky Brewster.
Punky.
I believe it was season Punky. Season 2, episode 16, I believe. The title
10.
of the episode is what?
What episode? I thought it was 10. What? Episode 10.
All right, 10 or 16, it doesn't matter. Because really, if you wanted to stream it, you could watch it free on NBC.com, no plug. The title of the episode is Cherry Lifesaver, which Cherry, her friend, Soleil Moonfry, Punky Brewster's friend, Bestie, who lives in the same apartment complex, I guess it is. I don't remember the show much, but I did notice it had a very strange layout. Apparently, they lived in an apartment building, but the interiors look like a home. So it was a little strange, but regardless, let's delve into the episode. How do you say the episode started off?
Well, first of all, let's say this: do we remember do we remember Punky Brewster? I mean, I do remember the show. I mean, my dumb imitation's really from Family Guy. That's really where it's from. Family Guy doing Punky. But Ant, do you remember the live action? Do you remember the cartoon more?
No. I remember the live action. I never watched the cartoon, but like I just remember that like this was a sitcom, and I have to say, it probably, when you look at the backstory of how this sitcom was set up, it's the most depressing situation I think you can ever imagine.
Even worse than a rich white guy adopting 2 young black children.
Yes.
What you talking about, Larry?
So wait, do you like, so when Punky, like the pilot episode of Punky, right? Like the whole story behind her is her father left her mother, right? So her mother was with her, so it was just her mom and Punky. And then they went shopping for groceries one day, and the mom abandoned Punky. Left her, and her
I don't
dog.
remember that.
Literally abandoned her while shopping, left her and the dog, and then she finds a vacant apartment in a local building, and then Henry finds her. Like,
which nowadays the police would arrive and the show would end after 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, not even that. Henry would get arrested for possible abduction, and he's trying to do a good deed. But
he probably just knew she was going to have a lot of lower back problems later in life.
Oh, you always go there.
Well, and it's not even that. She didn't know. Punky didn't know well enough to go to the cops and be like, "Hey, here's my home address. Can you take me home to my mommy?" It's like, no, she's just like, "Mommy, where are you? Oh crap. Oh, here's an apartment. I'm going to go stay there."
Oh man.
I don't remember the pilot episode, but I'm actually glad I don't remember the pilot episodes, because I think as a father, I'd be horrified right now. But I didn't she also live in a orphanage for a bit, and that was they from what I understand, these episodes went into great detail of okay, she's going to the orphanage, but Henry has to adopt her, but there's legal proceedings. Like, from what some of the wiki that I read on this, like there was a whole 6-episode arc right after following this actual episode where Punky actually ended up going back to
the got orphanage for a bit.
Was. I mean, maybe because Henry. Oh, because Henry got sick. Henry got sick.
Yeah, Henry got
collapsed, and they said. Go ahead. No, and they said that, what do you call it? He wasn't fit, and he also lost his job because his photography studio burnt down. Right. So they were like, "Well, you're not fit to be a parent." After having her for 2 seasons, Is
that
he was a photographer, but the first season was all about him trying to get her adopted.
Okay, I got you.
Trying to adopt her, which is where the orphanage came into play and all that stuff.
Correct. I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm assuming I'm assuming the orphanage's name was, let's see, I just had it up here. The orphanage. Fenster Hall.
Fenster Hall. I went there before they closed down.
Fenster Hall, right.
Fenster Hall. But I'm always curious, like when he got sick and was unable, and obviously she had to go back to the orphanage, if that was around the time that he was filming Police Academy 27 or something like that, because he had other obligations.
He was Commandant Lassard, wasn't he?
Yes.
I always forget that.
Yeah. So in the middle of being on this show, he was being Commandant Lassard.
The best scene.
Go, Frank.
And the best scene was when he put the fish at the Japanese hibachi, and it was
yes.
He put the fish on the Japanese hibachi in Police Academy, and it was basically boiling in its own water. So did Anthony freeze up?
No, at least not on my end.
No, you. Okay. Frank, you froze up on my end.
Oh, you're frozen on mine too, so it might just be the.
And everyone's good to go on my end.
That's funny.
Everything is good to go on my end.
Well, we don't need video, so.
Nope.
That's very true.
And I'm going to be doing some heavy editing.
Let's go. Let's delve into the episode.
Yes, let's get right into the episode. I want to say one thing. Okay, are you down in DC, Frank? Still? Hello.
No, I came back. I've been back for a few weeks.
Okay.
I've been back for a few weeks. We still don't know what's going on with the election, but Trump is apparently on a rampage. He's drunk, unshaven, and I think there might be some. I pray for Melania because I feel she might be in danger.
Melania.
So, but I don't know if I'll try and while you guys are talking, I'll try and contact Trump. Maybe he's seen the episode. Who knows? We'll see. He'll call in.
Oh dear.
But
let me ask you this.
I say we delve into the episode.
Absolutely, Frank. As a dog owner, well, you don't have any doors though that really separate your different. To have a doggy door to separate the bed, the living room from the kitchen, I don't know why I found that so odd because I thought it went.
I wrote that down.
Because I thought it went to the outside, and then when Sherry and her grandmother walked in, I'm like, they came in from the living room? What's going on here?
Yeah, that was just lazy. Hold on one second. My wife's Alexa just magically went on, so I have to shut it off.
Nice.
I'm being spied on by big government. Alexa, shut up.
Yeah, when the episode first. So, I was going to say, when the episode first starts, I mean, yeah, this is 80s screaming at you right off the bat. I mean, it is just slapping you straight in the face. Starts off in the kitchen with that generic cereal and, Brandon, a wonderful name for a dog. Like, who names a dog Brandon?
Somebody who doesn't know any other names for their dog. That's all. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember, look, Henry's got a difficult life. He's a photographer and he's raising this strange kid who he found in an apartment. So he doesn't have time to come up with a dog name.
And the dog.
Yeah. Honestly, did he know the dog was part of the package?
No, I don't think he did. And if anything, that Punky, maybe Punky's got some mental issues and she thinks that's her brother.
That's another episode for another time.
This is my brother Brandon.
So,
okay.
So we get.
I didn't consider.
So the episode then goes into kind of the issue now with the refrigerator. Apparently, Henry, who's a cheapskate, has a refrigerator from the 40s. I'm surprised it's not a giant block of ice sitting on top of the refrigerator to keep everything cool. The rest of it, and it finally breaks down.
I wanted him to have the refrigerator from Back to the Future 3.
Oh, I wish. I believe the Cramdens from the Honeymooners had a better refrigerator than good old Henry.
Yes, they did.
But how great was the when he opens up the freezer and it was just a sheet of ice out of Ice Age. I thought that was pretty comical.
I think that's happened to me once, where like my freezer went on the fritz and like it just almost closed up completely. But also it was like a bar fridge that I had in college, so there really wasn't a lot of room in there.
Well, it also looked like it was just stuffed with TV dinners. I was like, this is what you're feeding Punky. The orphanage.
Well, he is a photographer. I don't know how much they make, but and then, of course, it starts to do a little bit of an Irish jig across the kitchen and then firmly explodes. So, a little unsafe in that apartment.
Yeah, forget about that. But did you ever notice how on like 80s sitcom or sitcoms in general, when something explodes, it's always exploding black soot as if it's a chimney?
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything on a refrigerator, no matter what decade, what decade it would have been, for it to spit out black smoke like that.
Exactly. It wouldn't smoke. It would just die. It would just die a quiet death. It would just stop running. But you might smell some sulfur, but other than that, I don't think that would have happened.
Anyone else? I really expected, because this is the first time I probably ever seen the episode, or in a long time, of course. I was expecting, like, when they say, "Oh, the fridge is fine," for it to start kind of what Frank said, to wobble halfway across the kitchen, like in a weird, like, "Oh, it's coming after me." But then when it just explodes, it's pretty funny. And then we get the kid comes in, Sherry, Punky's best friend, I'm assuming, on the show. Her grandmother's there.
Yes.
Does the grandmother work with Henry? Does anyone remember that? Like, how are they such good friends?
From what I understand, I think she is a quasi housekeeper. Like, she helps him out. By the way, you guys are frozen on my phone, so I'm trying to. Anthony's got to let me in on the Zoom, so I'm trying to get onto my computer as well.
I X'd that out because I got confused. Can you re-enter?
Yes, I'll try and re-enter.
So anyway, the grandmother, Mrs. Johnson, she's a registered nurse.
Oh, so then wait a minute. Then why are we having this episode? Her granddaughter should have already known how to do CPR. So why is she even in class?
Well, but her granddaughter was the one in trouble.
Oh, that's right.
As we'll find out later. And not only that, but grandma wasn't around to help out.
That's true. That's true.
We'll get there.
Right, of course.
But before we get there, did anybody else notice this really quickly before we jump into the rest of the episode?
Sure.
You know how everybody in the episode, actors have their names and then the character in the show. I want to know why this girl, Cherry Johnson, why did they call her Cherry in the show as well? Did they think she couldn't remember another name? I thought it was so insulting. I'm like, her real name is Cherry Johnson, and in the show, her name is Cherry Johnson because her grandmother is Mrs. Johnson.
Kind of a Tony Danza situation?
I have an answer for this. I know the answer to this, okay? This is, it's called the Danza effect because every show that Tony Danza's been in, he's been Tony. So the creator of the show was going to, and I actually have this whole thing written down here. The creator of the show, I forgot his name, but he was like one of the co-creators. He's related to Cherry Johnson. I think it's her uncle or godfather. And he was planning on creating a character based on her, but so they just had her come in and read for the part, and she got it. So that's how that worked.
She just happens.
I'm a little scared because I've had see this. Does anyone see this piece of paper? I've had this covered my camera lens on my computer because I'm a paranoid freak.
You are,
but I still see me. So where am I being recorded from?
Your cell phone?
Your phone is still on.
We hear you from your cell phone, and we see you from your cell phone.
I knew that.
Oh boy, folks. Frank, you mind me drive over there?
Technology frightens me, okay? I'm a simple man. But so he was basically just going to name a character after her as Punky's best friend. And she just went in and read for the part, and she blew everybody away. So they just gave her the part.
Well, I mean, at that point too, it's just like change her name
because clearly she was the best actress on the show.
She definitely what? No,
she couldn't remember the name. She couldn't remember the name of another character.
Margot was the best on the show. We all knew that.
Margot,
and not Margo. Margeau.
When
I did not know the spelling of her name until after the episode. And I'm like, I wrote all my notes down, Margot, like Margot Kidder. And I'm like, oh no, it's Margot.
It's Margot. She's French. She's French.
I saw that too. I'm like, that's not how you spell Margot. But she wasn't, you know how there's Karens today in 2020? She was, I mean, there were Margos in the 1980s. She was a Margot.
She was such a Margot.
Definitely.
So let's cut to. Can we cut? I guess class then, right?
Although I will say her parents were cheap. They sent her to public school.
Well, in fairness, they were probably royalty in France, and then they came to where is it? Chicago, I believe, and they just had to survive like everybody else. After this, the opening scene of they're setting up the premise that Henry and Punky need a new refrigerator because he has a pre-war refrigerator. They cut to
pre-World War.
They cut to the Punky in school in her class with their teacher Mike, who I hate when people call their teachers by their first names. I've always hated it, even as a kid when I had a teacher that said, call me John. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Mike is teaching them how to do CPR, which at one point I really thought Mike was going to backhand one of the students, but we'll get into that. They're in school studying.
That's what I wanted to say. That whole like the first name thing that bugged me the whole time, because at first I'm like, oh, maybe he's like a friend in the apartment building who came in for the day, like he works as an EMT or something. Because again, I completely forgot the whole premise of the show. So I'm like, okay, but then the way he started acting, I'm like, oh no, this guy's being paid by the school, by the Board of Education, And
see, back then though, like on a show like this, teachers were allowed to get close with their students, so he was actually really close friends with Punky and her friends. It was allowed back then.
Right, he went to the Mr. Wilson School of Education.
Yes, he did.
So then breaks out, and then the CPR with probably the first ever CPR dummy that was invented.
Probably.
Yeah,
Annie.
and
her name was Annie. Don't forget.
Yes,
Annie. Right.
Annie. Very important.
And she had a very giant light switch indicator attached to her through a cluster of wires, which was quite disturbing and interesting. So some very Westworld-ish. But
it looked like one of those controls for a warehouse elevator. It's big giant.
Yes, exactly. And I did find it very interesting, especially in this COVID world, that in 1980, Mike, the teacher, took a alcohol swab to the lip of Annie the doll, which I thought was actually very good for you, Mike.
Good for you. Yeah, very prescient for Mike.
He knew what was happening 40 years later, 35 years later.
Yeah. And he had some bug-eyed too. I've seen that actor somewhere else. I can't place where I've seen him, but
they got a resident IMDb
I've
expert.
seen him in a few places.
May pull it up here in a moment.
I'm looking it up. Let's see. After Punky, Runaway Train. Oh, he did the voice of Rocksteady in Transformers.
Ooh.
So
interesting.
And then he was on 227. He was on 227.
He was on 227. Yes.
Oh, he was Laura's guardian angel on Family Matters. I remember that.
Is that next year's episode?
Yeah, I remember that.
And then he was in a bunch of other stuff.
That might be very next.
So very ironic that a fridge has to get thrown out, and then they're learning CPR. So Frank, you take it from there.
Yeah.
It did play in nicely how that coincidence was just happened to be there. It's basically setting up the premise for the entire episode. But just to stay on this one particular scene, we have a character named Alan, a boy named Alan, who really just does not know when to let it go, Alan, because Alan is obviously the class clown and was a little bit of a douche and cracking a lot of jokes during Mike's lesson on how to teach CPR to the class, to the point where Mike was like, okay, Alan, enough. And then each time Alan made another joke, he was like, I was waiting to go, bitch, I'm going to knock your ass out if you don't get out of my class.
I was waiting for him to crack him in the face.
Read the room, Alan.
I really thought a back slap was coming upside Alan's face. And then he got to the point where he actually had to throw him out of the room because Mike taking no shit. Now, unbeknownst to me, him being thrown out of the room actually comes into play later in the episode, which we'll discuss. So, of course, Punky takes his spot and has Margot with an O-U-X as her partner.
Margot.
And they were actually very impressive. They used the dummy and they showed their they actually were a quick study and learned their CPR skills.
Meanwhile,
Alan, well, you're screwed. So.
Yeah, Alan, he was, Punky was pitching jokes as well, and Mike was a little more receiving to Punky's jokes as opposed to Alan's, even though Punky wasn't.
No. Well, I think since Mike predicted the corona with the alcohol wipe, I think he also predicted what Punky was going to look like in her teenage years. So Mike was letting her get a little away with a little murder.
Totally. Ant, let me ask you, like, this team of Punky and Margot, this new the new dynamic duo of these two working over this dummy.
The Batman and Robin of CPR.
I mean, Ant, do you remember Margot? Did she have was she a regular?
Yeah, no, she was one of Punky's friends. So she was on most of the episode. It was Cherry, Margot, and Alan. They were all close friends, even though Margot had no right being there whatsoever because she was too rich for them.
She sure was. A couple of
parents. I feel her parents, her hedge fund father and lawyer mother, I feel, were trying to give her the childhood that they didn't have growing up. They tried to give her a fair and balanced Chicago public education childhood, because they were progressive. I'm feeling they were very progressive.
Probably. Did we ever meet them? We gotta find an episode where we meet the parents.
We did meet Mogwai's mother at some point.
Mogwai.
Wait, is that not how you say it?
We're gonna say something different for her every single time.
Oh yeah. So Punky and Misty is doing a great job. The lights are coming on. They keep the
lights are coming on. Punky's learning how to make out with a dummy.
Which a couple of older jokes for an 8-year-old or whatever, or however she was supposed to be. First of all, let's talk about this. Since this episode is aired, I think we do CPR now completely different.
We do. Yes, we do, actually. I
don't think there's any chest compressions anymore.
No, chest compressions are more important. It used to be that you went in order. It was like air, chest, and then whatever it was, but you actually are supposed to do 30 chest compressions first.
Just keep banging on the chest.
Yeah. No, basically it's like CAR. I forget like the order. It's like chest, air, and then whatever. I forget what the third one was. But it's you immediately start pumping the heart. That's the first thing you do.
Gotcha. So what do you think? I mean, you think Mike owns the doll? Because I feel like maybe now that he's wiping it down, this could have been double duty.
No. He totally owns the doll. She has a name. He named her. Not only did he name her, but he brought her to class in a suitcase.
That's what the third light was for. We never saw lit up.
Yeah, it's not like he brought it in the classroom from like another room. It's like, no, here's Annie in my suitcase.
Let me say this. When Mike asks Punky to help take, what do you call it? Help me remove the electronics. Yes. I'm like, all right, obviously the doll can't be that sophisticated in the mid 80s. What else could follow? And then Punky breaks out this giant mechanism. I was like, holy Lord, they're going to run it like a marionette or something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty complex for such a simple thing, but cut to Mike's house where he has an entire wardrobe for Anne, and he sits there and there's a setting at his dinner table for it. And he's just so alone.
So Punky and Mitzi,
Mandalorian,
yeah, they pass with flying colors, I guess. The CPR class,
yeah,
and then
they save Annie. The lights go on.
Lights went on in order. That's what made sense. The lights came on in order. You would think there'd be a third one to say that she was alive, but I guess they couldn't afford that good of a dummy.
If you just want to know a little something a little more depressing, the reason why her name was Annie, and I actually remember this from a CPR class, is she was actually named after a dead girl in Paris from the 19th century who drowned.
Can we be more specific?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think led to the invention of CPR or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she led to the invention of CPR. So they name the dummy Annie after her.
Like an Amber Alert.
Yes.
You big dummy.
Which I felt like was probably going to follow shortly after, but be that as it may.
Anyway, moving on.
All right, so now
Alan's meanwhile at this time Alan is getting a paddle in the principal's office.
Does Anyone notice the wicked birthmark on Alan's hand? I couldn't stop staring at it.
I did not see that.
It was on his hand, right on the top of the fist.
No,
I couldn't stop staring at it.
That's where Mike used to cane him.
Aw. Again, the third
Mike's
light.
Currently doing 5 to 10 in Joliet prison right now.
So let's cut to Henry going to Caesar's Bay to pick up a brand new refrigerator.
Wait, for those not living in Brooklyn, Caesar's Bay Bazaar was a giant, I'd like to say, indoor flea market where people had booths set up, and they sold their all new items. You know, you had one thing that was socks, bras, and underwear. You had sneakers. You had clothes. You had those airbrush T-shirts from these. I believe I got a leather jacket from there back in like 1991.
Remember, Caesar's Bay.
What my girlfriend said. What?
Caesar's Bay, shopping the easy way.
Yes.
Shopping the easy way, correct. That I believe is now a cold. I'm not sure.
If you want to shop the easy way, you go to the store that Henry went to, which was probably the equivalent of going to Crazy Eddie's, and that would be cheapo Chester's.
Oh, it was totally
cheapo
Crazy Eddie's. Yeah.
Charlie's.
Was it? I thought it was Chester.
Either way, I think he spent.
Oh, yeah, cheapo Chester. Right, correct.
Okay,
correct.
I was gonna say either way. I'm sure he's doing the exact same, 12 to 15 years that Crazy Eddie ended up doing anyway. So
good possibility. Good possibility. But Cheapo Charlie, played by the very popular actor, I don't remember the actor's name, but he was, I believe, Herb Turlick from WKRP in Cincinnati. I believe that was the character name. I'm afraid to touch my Zoom, so I'm literally not going to check on anything else.
Anthony, be our fact checker.
I'm on it. Where's this stupid episode?
Just easier to search WKRP.
Very true.
Yeah.
No, I'm on my way.
So he's in Cheapo Charlie's. Henry checking out all these refrigerators. Anyone notice the when Cheapo Charlie comes out to meet Henry, the extras, the couple extras that almost got in the way of the actors, and then they kind of just the lady
shoved aside.
He just made a hard left and was face first into the refrigerator.
Yep. and you would think that when you're shooting this, it's like, cut, let's do another take. It's like, no.
They didn't have the budget.
They probably did not have a very big budget to do a lot of cuts, so they were just like, no one's going to notice except some guys 25 years in the future who are doing a podcast.
Yes.
So keep rolling.
So by the way, I will confirm that was Herb Tarlick.
Yes, I got the name right.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I believe he was a bit of a sleaze in WKRP in Cincinnati. So talk about typecasting.
Everything he did.
He was in Saved by the Bell, the new class.
Was he? He was probably one of the teachers.
Was he the new Mr.
He
Belding?
played Mr. Harrington.
He was probably one of the teachers, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was a teacher.
I think he was on Saved by...
Mr. Harrington.
I'm pretty sure he was on Married with Children as well. Didn't he try to sell the timeshare? Oh, no, that was...
No, he was on Just the 10 of Us as a priest.
Wow. Okay.
We're just going all over the place.
Currently my coworker at the postal facility plant.
So Frank, let me ask you a question. When you were remodeling your kitchen, did you even think about going to Cheapo Charlie's? Would you have bought a refrigerator from
Cheapo Chester?
Excuse me.
We did look at Cheapo Chester's. Unfortunately, they only had one left of a refrigerator that we liked, and some Texan, like Southern guy just came in with a wad of cash and said, "I want it." And I was like, well, Steph, I'm sorry. We're going to have to go to Home Depot or Lowe's. So we ended up leaving, thankfully, because we find out.
He had cash on the horn, or whatever he kept saying.
Cash on the he had a slogan. I don't remember what.
Whip out the cash.
Basically, he was a Cheapo Charlie. He worked for Cheapo Chester's. I don't know why I keep saying Charlie, but he was the dad from Teen Wolf. So the movie.
Yes, he
was
was
the father.
Yes, he was. It took me forever to place him.
Oh, I knew immediately it was because I recently watched Teen Wolf with my kids. So introduced them to that movie. I actually, Anthony, you'll be happy to know I introduced my daughter to the original It last night.
Was she traumatized?
No, she actually was like, wasn't so bad.
I can relate.
You know what? Show her the new one.
Well, we're watching it probably today. So
okay, good.
So, there's obviously a little bait and switch scamorama going on at Cheapo Chester's, and Henry buys the last one of the refrigerator that they have, but he did get a free alarm clock with it, according to Cheapo Chester. That was an offer.
Oh, so, and which, by the way, that whole setup about buying the new fridge and getting like potentially ripped off or something like that does not play into the plot whatsoever after that scene.
That really is true.
Nothing goes wrong. Nothing goes wrong with the fridge. Everything's perfectly fine. He never returns it. Nothing.
The episode would have ended perfectly if he went in after CPR to get himself a beer after being stressed out, and Punky a glass of milk, and poof, black smoke comes out of the refrigerator. But
who are we to rewrite history?
Yeah, exactly. More black smoke. And then you see the gurney go by with Cherry still saying she's hungry.
Oh, I can't even wait to get to that part of the episode. So. Oh my God.
So moving on. So
now we cut. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. We cut to the backyard playground area of the apartment building with a giant 1940s refrigerator sitting in the middle of it as the kids are playing hide and seek.
Not only that,
which would be,
but in the quad of this publicly owned, probably apartment complex, there is probably a non-sanctioned treehouse that I'm sure the board did not approve, but yet the kids were playing around with and near.
They do have a treehouse, and Henry apparently also has a entire wardrobe just for doing work around the house, because he came out in a jumper and a hat with his glasses obviously around his neck with the strap on it, just to remove the fridge off a door. Now, I've removed the fridge door off a fridge because I recently did my kitchen over, and when we threw out the appliances, it's like 2 screws. I think I just wore like a pair of fleet pants and a t-shirt and just threw him out my front door. So I really don't know what Henry needed to spend. If Henry did not spend the 15 minutes picking out his wardrobe to take the goddamn door off the fridge, the rest of the episode could have ended right there. I mean, because if that 15 minutes of time, as we see the kids playing hide and seek, we find out that now here was the big miscommunication. Cherry goes inside the house to hide, comes back out, says, fuck, I can't find a hiding spot, goes to look into the garbage can, thinks twice, and then it then goes, oh, look, a refrigerator. I'm gonna go run in the refrigerator and hide. Goes in the refrigerator and shuts the door.
And which I would like to point out one thing here too. You go inside where you have an entire apartment building, like levels and levels of apartment building, and there's nowhere to hide. So let's go right back outside into a refrigerator instead. Because even when they go into, in the next scene, they go into Henry's apartment and they're calling for Cherry and they go, Ali, Ali, Oxenfree. It's like, that means like they would expect her to go inside somewhere and hide. So she had the entire apartment building to hide in.
As soon as she walked into the apartment, I'm like, that's got to be out of bounds. I mean, come on, that's just cheating right there.
No, apparently they don't have the rules extend. They extend to the building.
Well, I don't know how kids do it in Chicago, but I know in New York when we used to play Manhunt, hide and seek, there was always no insides. You couldn't go inside. Because nobody wanted their kids inside the house, and we were all over the street. So at least on my street, and plus we had apartment buildings. So we on our street, so we used to go hide in there, even though we were trespassing. We would go hide on their like grounds. They had like a whole quad area, and there was bushes and stuff. And of course, 9 out of 10 times, and maybe you guys could attest to this, but 9 out of 10 times when you found the perfect hiding spot, you had to go pee.
Yes.
And I'm like, damn it, time, car, time. I got to go pee.
Don't look. I got to go in.
Don't look, you know.
Maybe our Chicago fan Rob can tell us if there's different rules out there. Is it Chicago style hide and seek versus New York style?
Deep dish.
Rob, please tell us about the Chicago bylaws on hide and seek / manhunt. So please write in. We'd appreciate that. Our one fan from Chicago. Not for nothing, Rob. You could share it to a friend in Chicago so we could have 2 friends in Chicago. I'm saying one of you could send me a deep dish pizza. I'm saying.
So we got this epic game of hide and go seek. Alan cheating like a madman with the counting. Actually, I blame Alan because if Alan, right? If Alan would have taken his time, maybe Sherry would have found a better spot instead of panicking and running into the fridge. And so,
no, let's face it.
Yeah,
Sherry got what she deserved. She thought she was being clever. We all know that. She'd be like, "Ooh, nobody's gonna look in here."
Also, how
you know what? Nobody did. Nobody did.
It's not a bad hiding spot,
in theory, yeah.
But it was. I still blame Henry for the wardrobe change, because that right there alone could have, it's literally 4 screws,
Well, you can't help. You have to understand though that Henry knew that Margox was coming over, and just in case her mother showed up,
he's the new MCU villain.
Yeah, basically, he needs to look good.
Right. Well, obviously, if Mallory's mother showed up, it would have been a lawsuit. So.
So Sherry's
Mallory was the one who went into the fridge. So Sherry goes inside the fridge. Everyone is looking for each other, and boom, cue the snow. And boy, that was snow went from nothing to a full blown blizzard. It was like, yeah, okay, cue the snow, and literally there was just snow everywhere. So it started very quickly.
It did, and Neville, I know Henry was like, oh, I'll take the door off after it's done snowing. Come on, like Frank said earlier, that could have been done in just a few moments, easy peasy.
Exactly, wardrobe change didn't happen.
He's an older look. He's an older man. He doesn't want to get wet. He might slip and hurt himself. Let me just go back inside.
He had his bucket hat on. Did he not have his bucket hat on? He wouldn't have gotten wet. Maybe that's why he maybe because he was out in the snow looking for Cherry, that maybe that's why the next episode he got sick. I'm just saying.
Oh,
possibly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's the sitcom's version of karma.
Now I blame Cherry. Now I blame Cherry for Henry almost losing Punky. So now this is a whole twist of things. So anyway, at this point, obviously they probably would have cut to commercial, but because we're in 2020, we were able to stream it without commercials. We hear Cherry screaming for help as she's stuck in the fridge because everybody went inside because it started snowing. What child do you know? Well, actually, I'm sorry. Let me correct. They went inside to look for Cherry because they thought she was inside. I'm sorry, I'm blocking the camera. They thought she was inside. I'd be outside playing with the snow. I'm just me. I'm outside. Oh, look, snow. I live in the gritty streets of Chicago, at least chilling out with some hot cocoa in my unsanctioned treehouse. I'm just,
Also, my question is this.
And I bet you.
Yeah.
No, I bet you Malfoy's mother would have definitely ripped out, complained about that treehouse. I'm just saying if she knew her daughter was in it.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sure it wasn't up to code.
Oh, she would have had an army down there of Karens. Forget about it. It would have been like like the Wantor moms would have been the Chicago moms.
My daughter is too good to play in that wreck.
Yeah, I know. Please call Sal. This guy, he builds them personally.
Exactly.
He's fun.
And also,
he'll only charge you about.
I always like doing that. Hold on. On a side note, real quick, I do love putting up a post every now and then on Facebook. If we had Facebook in the 80s, 70s, or 90s or whatever, and I'm like, I'll do something from the 80s, like, oh, I'm going out to, this discotheque, hit me up or whatever, it makes no sense. But
playing at Buddies.
Anyway, next. Yeah. Your buddies, right? Melly Bly, anyone?
God, did you get the new Earth, Wind, and Fire 8-track?
Oh my God, it's awesome.
Oh, Great
Totally
White's going to be
tubular.
awesome. Oh, never mind. So now Sherry's she's stuck in the fridge. We can hear her perfectly, which means first of all the fridge is not airtight. So to me that meant the seal should not have been that strong. Any child could have easily put her back and hips into it and just pushed that door open. Probably.
No, but you're forgetting that this refrigerator was built pre-World War II, and that stuff was built to last.
And it had a latch, I think.
Right. Now, it did have a latch, and those stuff was built to last. But I believe it was any refrigerator built after like 1958 had to have a release valve somewhere inside of it. I forgot the exact year, but it was in the mid-50s. And so that if someone did get stuck in it, and then it also did become a law that if you are disposing of it, you must remove the door. So
yes, exactly. But I do believe
I don't want to say this episode came a little bit late.
It did a little bit, but I do think that this was the same refrigerator that Indiana Jones used in the
clearly,
Castle of the Crystal Skull or whatever. So
it totally survived the nuke.
It survived the nuke. So I think a little girl like trying to push it open wouldn't work.
But you just hear that, and that's when like the episode turned. Every one of these very special episodes always has that moment when it turns.
Yep.
And then you go, oh, wait a minute, we're not going to have a lot of fun for the rest of this half hour. And you just, as they go into commercial, you just hear, hello, like, uh-oh, this isn't going to be good. And then we come back from commercial.
This is going to end badly.
Oh, forget about it. And they're still looking. I don't think they ever cut back inside, right? I think when they came back from commercial, we were still in the outside setting.
Yeah, because she was calling for her grandma, and they were like, she was they were really dragging out her calls.
Oh, and then of course you have to, Soleil Moon Frye's got to get her money. Help, Punky. Not the old man who's a lot stronger than the 9-year-old girl, but Punky, please come and help because you have magical powers.
Well, no, it would be. She has Punky power, but I mean, let's be honest.
True. But good call.
I don't know. I disagree with you, Larry. I think I would call, like, if I was hanging out with my best friend, I'd be like, I'd be calling him, I would be calling everybody. I'd be calling you. I'd be calling everyone.
Knowing your friends.
I'd be calling Marmalade,
Knowing your friends is the way we are.
Oh,
do you really think?
Knowing my friends, they would knock the refrigerator over. They would piss on it. They would be like, "Hey, we hear you, fat boy, die!" No, come on, without a doubt, we would all do the same to each other. Who are we kidding? So,
and then
we'd be hitting with baseball bats. Oh. Can you breathe?
Superstar running to the
open up the door. We'd open up the door. We'd give you some air, and then shut the door again, and then beat the baseball bat.
So at what point does that like really intense CPR music start playing? Was it right when the door opened? Because
it's when Henry opens the door.
Okay.
But wait. So obviously they're all still looking for her, and you can tell everyone's getting real nervous. And I forgot, I wrote this down, but I don't remember what he did because I had my kids in the house, so it was hard for me to really take great notes. But I wrote, Alan still proving he's a dick. Did he have a stupid remark again? Does anyone remember?
Probably. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but I'm sure he said something witty.
Oh, I don't remember what it was, but then, of course, Henry just nonchalantly goes, let me check the fridge, and opens up the fridge.
Yes.
And did you just see how, like, he was scrambling, and all of a sudden he just looks at the fridge and goes, oh, there she is. Opens up the fridge, but this isn't great. Henry and finds Sherry in the fridge, but Henry, being the responsible guardian, demands that Alan perform CPR on her. You must have. He demanded. He was angry. Do it. You learned it. Do it. When Alan had to confess that he got thrown out of class because he's a douche. So
yeah. Well, you would think Henry, as a former commandant, should have known CPR.
That's the first thing you learn at Police Academy.
I think that is the first thing you learn. So he makes Alan go run inside to call 911. But probably calls 311 because he's an idiot. Let's be honest. So, Alan, and I think this was Alan's only role. I don't think he did much after this because I couldn't find anything on IMDb.
No, he did. He
didn't. Alan runs in the house, outwalk Punky and Marmaduke, and to save the day.
And yes, and out they come, and thank God they paid attention in school.
Yes,
because they immediately they immediately
begin look, listening, and feeling up Cherry.
Which, not gonna lie, pretty hot.
What?
Oh, did I say that out loud?
Oh, Frank, they're 9. They're 9, Frank. Maybe nowadays.
Well, I saw the adult. I saw the adult pictures of all three of them. So.
You saw crossing lines here.
You saw not Punky Brewster.
Yes.
Right. I saw Soleil Montfort. So.
But anyway,
they perform CPR. They save the day.
Grandmother comes out screaming and yelling, dramatic. "Oh my God!"
Grandma, the nurse who could have performed CPR on her at any point in time, also comes when everything, when obviously the crisis is past.
Right, but it was a very dramatic scene. I mean, they really dragged it out. Where in real life, the kid might have had brain damage at this point because they were like doing the counting and they were doing everything. And of course, I did love it. I did notice how they were going to do this with the child actor. How when Punky went to put her lips on Cherry, like you could tell in real life she actually wasn't doing it. Like she flipped her hair forward, so it was blocking it. And I thought they did that very. And on a serious note, I thought they did that very classy because I was curious how they were going to do that. I'm like, how are they going to, because obviously nowadays, I think even back then in the 80s, they had child welfare on scene in those shows just to, protect the children.
Oh, absolutely.
And whatnot. So they did that actually very classy. And I'm not going to, I didn't get emotional, but I was like, come on, Cherry, wake up. Come on, kid. Come on. I guess that's the dad in me, but it was very done. So obviously she wakes up and, But I did notice this right before she woke up when Punky went to do the breathe the air into her. Man, I thought she snapped her neck because because Cherry kind of moved. Cherry kind of moved in anticipation of Punky positioning her head, moving her chin up.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, I go to a chiropractor, and I thought that was my doctor cracking my neck. It's like, ooh, her neck. I like went, ooh. I wrote that down. Ooh, her neck. So, that was actually. But of course, they save her, and she's like, she said something like, where am I?
Where am
I?
Said something
she said,
where am I?
Oh, she did. Oh, where am I? Okay, like, hey, you were in a fridge, not for nothing, and.
Three simple words.
Thank you.
3 simple words would have made it even more dramatic is if they came back from that commercial break and they said 3 days later.
Yes.
Would have been a lot more dramatic.
But if that would have happened, then we would have been dealing with resuscitation Cherry moving forward in classes.
They hook the battery to her.
The episode, we would have been dealing with the Cherry Memorial episode at school.
We hardly knew ye.
So
go ahead.
Right after that.
No, go ahead. Finish up.
Oh, obviously, our resident douche nozzle, Alan, feels very bad. And I actually kind of felt bad for Alan because he kind of was like, he learned his lesson on when to be. I think as a former class clown, I think he learned his lesson on when to tell a joke and when not to tell a joke. Obviously, during CPR class, where Mike the Bug-Eye teacher is teaching you don't mess around. Save that shit for gym class, Alan.
Exactly.
But Henry goes, well, Alan, even though I demanded you to do CPR, I think it's time we went down to the local Y and learned it ourselves. I think that's Alan's father's, job to do that. So
yeah, exactly.
Dude,
not only that, you think maybe he can make Alan feel a little bit better that the kid's traumatized. It's like, hey, you did a good job running inside, calling 911, getting her grandma, who is a nurse. It's like, good job, kid.
Right. And then Alan
I'm
goes,
sorry, Alan, you're stupid and you got kicked out of class. I didn't know it either. Let's go take a class.
Yeah, but Alan actually did call 311, so all the time.
Even before.
And I don't know if you guys know the coda to this episode, but like Cherry got really traumatized, and a couple of years later, she moved to the other side of Chicago and changed her name to Maxine and became Laura's best friend on Family Matters.
Oh, it's the same girl?
Yes.
Wow, look at that.
No, I totally missed that. Oh my God, I totally missed that. Wow.
Good pull.
These things happen. Well,
you know,
that whole Leonardo DiCaprio thing where they say that Jack actually survived the Titanic and became the Great Gatsby or something like that. Like,
yes.
You know, the timeline adds up.
Well, that's what happened with Cherry. She just changed her name because she did not want Punky or Alan or Marla to go find her. Although I would have moved in. With Marla. She's rich.
Oh, totally.
And she's rich, and she knows CPR.
There you go.
Well, I think Marla actually also changed her name, grew up and went to Peekskill and became Blair Warner. So Margot Warner, I think that's about right.
I think that was.
Wait a minute, that's Blair?
Basically, that's the
No, that's not Blair Warner.
Oh, I was going to say.
No, Blair Warner was her older sister.
Gotcha. Okay, I just wanted to check.
Yes. And then so that's basically the end of the episode. But one thing I want to point out, which I don't remember ever seeing in any TV show, the end credits actually showed clips from that particular episode. And I know, Anthony, you're as big as a TV nut as I am. I don't recall any other show doing that, especially a 30-minute sitcom.
Well, it's funny. The first 30-minute sitcom that comes to mind that did that was 227.
See, I never watched 227. So.
Yeah, see, I watched 227 all the time, and they used to do that during the credits as well. And I want to say,
okay,
no.
Is it any coincidence that the teacher Mike was in 227 and this?
Yeah.
And they had scenes from the end credits. Is this Mike's like contribution to television history?
Yeah, this is his money. This was his money.
Dumbfounded.
This was his moneymaker suggestion to everybody. You know, run stills from the episode during the credits.
Wait, I thought Moneymaker was their friend. Moneymaker.
No, that's Marshmallow.
Marshmallow. Good. Okay, good. So that's basically the episode. Obviously, Punky and I can't think of another M word. Saved the day. Maggie May, Punky and Maggie May saved the day, and Cherry gets to live on to see another sunset.
Do you remember though?
Wait. Do you? Okay. Just really quickly though, on her last line. She was locked in a refrigerator and almost died. Who gave her the last line of "I'm hungry"?
Hey, to be fair,
you're just gonna go put it right back in the fridge.
You're in a fridge. You're smelling all the food that was in there. Come on now. You know, I've woken up from being unconscious and had a witty line when I woke up. Sometimes it just happens.
No excuse.
I can contest to the fact that when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I had to get 9 stitches in my hand here. And my mother, when I was getting stitched up, and she says, "If you don't cry, I'll get you anything you want." And my response was, "I want a ham sandwich." Could have got a Nintendo. No, asked for a ham sandwich.
Some things you expect.
She could have given you the Nintendo, and then you just get a ham sandwich for lunch.
I'm
a moron. Okay.
Do you remember? I feel
I
like
work for the post office. I'm a slacker.
I feel like though, like during the mid '80s, not that it was like not like Dare or Just Say No, nothing on that big of a platform. But I do remember often in school being told, "Don't hide in refrigerators, don't hide in dryers." Like it was almost like a small epidemic, if I may say, in these trying times during the 80s, where I guess
epidemic's the right word, but
where all these kids were just locking themselves in fridges. I do remember in school hearing that a lot. So it was timely for a lot of people nowadays. Are probably like, oh, okay, locked himself in the fridge. Haven't heard a kid doing that in forever, because it was kind of like that was happening in the mid '80s.
Yep,
we were dumb back then.
Yeah, we were pretty dumb. But we were also, I'd say we were pretty dumb with certain things. But I think any 15-year-old today could not survive in 1985 for more than an hour and a half. No. I think they would lose their minds and end up, they would jump off a cliff, because I don't think they would be able to survive. I remember Saturday morning, I would eat a box of cereal and then run outside till the lights came on. And literally a box of cereal. And my mother had no idea where I was. There was no beepers. There was no phones. There was no, play dates. It was just, you went outside and you were gone till 6:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, ate dinner, and then you were back out again on your street playing Manhunt or.
No,
what do you got?
Yes. No, I'm reading. You're talking about refrigerators, and I'm looking up refrigerator death. So
refrigeratordeath.com.
No, it's like statistics for the 18 months from January 1954 to June 1956 show that 54 children were known to have been trapped in household refrigerators, and that 39 of them died.
Wow. So this should have been on what
year was that?
Between 1954 and 1956.
Okay, hear me out on this. Like I just said in the 80s, how we used to hang out all day long. Our ancestors used to do the same thing as well in the 50s and 60s. But the only thing different was, I think we were more environmentally friendly in the 80s. They probably would just dump refrigerators on the side of the road or in empty lots, and where a lot of kids play. They played like the Sandlot. To think about the movie The Sandlot, they played on a basically run down lot. So I'm wondering if that contributed to more deaths in the 50s and 60s, because we all were more in the 80s, compared to the 50s at least, more environmentally friendly, where also it did become a law and refrigerators did have to have the doors removed. Yeah. So that's actually very interesting.
Yeah, the Refrigerator Safety Act.
Sociology major in me coming out.
The Refrigerator Safety Act was passed in 1956. That required a change in the way refrigerator doors stay shut. So just so you know, based on this episode, which was in like 1986, that means that Henry's refrigerator was more than 30 years old.
It had a latch. It locked. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it said, I think in the episode wiki, it did say it was from the 40s. So
even worse.
And when Stephanie's grandfather, when we moved her grandparents out of Brooklyn, and now I met Stephanie in 2003, so this was probably 2005, they had a fully working 1940s refrigerator in their basement.
Nice.
The thing was loud as hell, but I actually wanted it. I was going to put it in my garage.
Did you? Did you ever try stuffing yourself in it? Did you see if you fit in it?
No. Well, wait, okay. Are we going to just gloss over the fact that someone stranger just walked through the back?
I'm time stamping this for edit. I did the same thing, Frank. Don't worry. But in the first time around.
I'm lost. Where am I?
Well, that's my burglar.
Fun fact about this episode. This episode was chosen in apparently a home viewer contest. I guess they must have put it out on. I guess this is Channel 4. I believe this was
NBC.
I think it was.
Yeah.
ABC. So they must have run some sort of ad campaign saying you call this probably 800 number and we'll choose your episode, which I kind of find it weird in this second season of a show that they would already resort to some sort of I don't want to say gag, but it's a strange premise to do that in season 2.
I think because again the popularity.
Yeah, and I just think because like I think sitcoms were just all going that way, so I don't think it necessarily mattered what season it was.
I was waiting for the very end of the episode for like everyone to be gathered around the refrigerator and be like, refrigerators cause deaths every year in this country, and make sure you take like each person says something different, and then he's Punky at the end. Please take the doors off your refrefrigerator.
Yeah,
and then the dog barks.
And then they lock Alan.
And then
inside.
Brandon goes, move. Oh, you just move. Yeah, exactly. Punky power.
Oh man! All right, so yeah.
Now there was a little controversy later on in the life of the one Cherry Johnson. I don't know if you guys know about it.
Oh no.
Apparently she was on vacation, and I believe it was in Fort Lauderdale or in Florida. She was, and I actually saw this because when I was looking up some videos on this episode, it just turned out to be an interview with her that she took some. They weren't nude pictures, but they were in a bikini, and one of them was kind of topless, where she was holding her hand over her, like the hand bra they call it, or whatever. But there was not anything risque, and she was over 18. Apparently, somebody sold them. I believe, if I'm correct here, someone sold them to Playboy. So there was a big scandal that Cherry Johnson from Punky Brewster posed in Playboy, and she never did.
Did Steve Urkel take those?
Did I do that?
Were they an item?
Maybe it's possible.
Yeah,
I hope
it's possible. Playboy did that all the time. They just buy nude photos. That's how like some of those celebrities ended up in Playboy.
Marilyn Monroe, her pictures were stolen by Hugh Hefner. That was the original pictures were stolen by Hugh Hefner. He was actually a fucking creep because of what he stalked. No, if you look at stalked Marilyn Monroe to the point when he requested to be buried next to her or something like.
Yes, he did.
Like against the family's wishes or something. So, yeah, that's a little wacky, but on a positive note, forgetting the whole Hugh Hefner Marilyn Monroe thing, there are apparently talks of a Punky Brewster reboot with her being the mother of 3 kids, I think it was. And she rediscovers her punky power, according to the 2-minute trailer that I saw.
Oh, there's an actual trailer?
Pretty excited because the Laymoon Fry has went from cute little kid to MILF. So
she had to get surgery to reduce.
She did have an ample.
That was in the tabloids,
But,
and then just so you know, Cherry Johnson's moving back across town in Chicago and coming back to the show.
There you go. Never left Chicago.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Freddie Prinze Jr. is playing her ex-husband.
Wow.
Yes.
I gotta find this trailer.
I had mixed feelings about it when I saw the trailer because I don't think it's definite yet. But with the success of Fuller House, I think it actually has a shot because I know my daughter, who's 11 years old, has watched, was it 4 seasons of Fuller House or 5 seasons of Fuller House?
5.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times. Like she's gone through it 3 times, like already. And now was watching Full House, the original shows. So,
well, think about it.
I think it might actually have a chance if it's done correctly. And the thing about Fuller House is there was a lot of like breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience about the original episode, and which I kind of thought was cool. But I think the new Punky Brewster might actually have a shot, and I don't know. I'd probably watch it with my kids.
Are they gonna bring back Fenster? Are they gonna bring back Fenster Hall? I had no idea that the orphanage had a spin-off show.
Did it really?
It was supposed to have. It was supposed to have.
Yes.
After the pilot, Mike was. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Mike was supposed to star in a spin-off show called Fenster Hall.
Yeah.
But they decided to. I guess I don't know if it didn't view well, but they decided to have him as the teacher instead, because he apparently worked at the.
He worked at Fenster Hall. He was an orphan.
Correct.
From birth who had never found a permanent home. So then he just became a counselor in Fenster Hall.
It looks like
now bear in mind, this is the setup. This is the setup for a sitcom.
But think about this though. And this is, thinking out of the box here. that series could have spun off to 20 different other shows when someone gets adopted.
Each kid.
Or when someone gets adopted, a new character pops into the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's,
like Tori and Saved by the Bell.
Or you do a crossover episode where, Marley shows up, she runs away from home and pretends to be an orphan, and then you have like a 2-part episode of where she's trying to fit in, with all the riffraff.
So
that's it. No, you did it. Marley ran away from home, got adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Warner, moved to New York, and she became Blair Warner.
There you go.
And see,
we have connected the dots.
So yeah, this is coming. The reboot's scheduled for 2021 on Peacock because they've already rebooted Saved by the Bell. They're talking Punky. And these reboots, they're hitting strides. Fresh Prince is doing a 1-episode reboot or a 1-episode reunion, and I think they're even bringing back Battlestar Galactica. Maybe
are they?
So maybe I'm
holding out for a Perfect Strangers reboot.
Oh,
yes,
that's just me.
So all right, so we have some stuff to talk about. So let me ask you this. So this is the 4th episode that we've done now, 4th year in a row. Mm-hmm. Where do you rank this one with the 4? So, again, it's Happy Days, Saved by the Bell, Family Ties, and Punky, Brewster. Where are we putting it? It's a strong episode, but with the 4 that we've done, I don't think it's the number 1 so far.
I put it at number 3.
I love stats.
Oh, yeah, you're telling me.
Okay.
It's number 3 for me.
And I gotta put this. Honestly, I'm gonna put this at 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got it like 3. Actually, I have like Happy Days at 4. And
yeah,
nothing
so
Happy Days.
No, I got Happy Days at 4. Family Ties is 1. Nothing tops Tom Hanks punching.
I got Family Ties. Oh, I have next year's something. If we do next year, something that will top Hanks punching Michael Alex P. Keaton, but and it is a Family Ties episode. So
I don't know. I can throw out.
I didn't know this existed.
We've yet to even go near Different Strokes.
Yeah, that's what we'll talk about.
Because
that.
it's the obvious.
Yeah.
No. I'm not even talking.
I'm
not even talking about the bicycle shop. There are other specials that you can go to on Different Strokes.
I'll
throw this out there. Maybe we could do this next year. Maybe after we do March Madness or sometime during the summer of next year. Maybe we'll let the fans decide it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, give them a list. We can do I didn't even know this.
We'll give them a list.
I was going to say, while I was researching the Punky episode and going through the seasons, I had no idea Punky Brewster did a very special episode after the Challenger explosion.
Oh, what?
Yes.
How are we not talking about that one?
And I didn't remember that.
I didn't remember it either. And I discovered this when I was doing the research on this episode. And it was done because of her actual real life reaction to the Challenger episode. She was, I think it was like career day and she wanted to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
And it was done as so that's another, I like this. I think next year we put in a list of 8. We each come up with, or even whatever, let's say 9, we each come up with 3 and we let the viewers vote on it.
Sounds good to me.
I like that, so even 2 or 3, we'll maybe 2, we'll make it 6.
The fans have spoken before. That's why we have Stephanie Minescu as the 2019 March Babeness winner. She was a fan vote. So,
and you're the reason why we still don't have her on the podcast.
Timing
but I'm just
has
saying,
been terrible.
I'm just saying.
Larry will always be the reason you don't have somebody on here.
Corona, I'm putting down Corona as ruining the future of my podcast and me staying at the post office for 12 years, 3 months and 30 days left to go. So,
as of recording. So, all right. So I think this was a fun episode. I mean, knowing now that there was a Challenger episode, I feel like scratching this one and let's redo it, but I know we can't. This was a good episode, and it kind of, remember, folks, I don't even think I can fit in a fridge anymore, but don't stuff yourself in refrigerators, please.
No, please. And just remember, I'm hungry.
Awesome.
Speaking of which, I'm going to go eat lunch now. So.
Yeah, so let's talk. So Ant, thank you very much again for being on the episode.
Always a pleasure to do this episode with you guys.
Thank you. Ant, give a little plug for that wonderful, wonderful podcast that you do.
Yes, Anthony, thank you.
No, thank you, Frank. The Retro Gamers Podcast.
I just want to say, before you give your plug, No, I just wanted before you give it a call, I want to do thank you, Anthony, because as we know, and as I, listening to the Retro Gamers, you probably have the busiest schedule in the world, and you're a world traveler. Well, not maybe so much this year with all that's going on, but your addition to this episode has actually perfected it. The trifecta of the three of us, and I mean, besides the fact of our long years of friendship, you actually, your perspective on the very special episodes always, because we're all TV nuts, this alone could be a weekly podcast in my eyes, but I think I'm sure it's been done already, but I like the fact that we do it once a year. Maybe we'll do a bonus, very special episode. Who knows? Yeah, thank you again. This is it's always fun when the three of us get together. So.
And I appreciate it. No, trust me. I'm really happy that I'm able to do it, and I will always make the time for this. There's no question about it. And if you were gonna start doing a separate podcast focusing on specific episodes, might I suggest you do a regular one where characters discover puberty in episodes. There's your new podcast.
That's one to grow on.
Hey, there you go.
Hey. Meanwhile, you can find me on the Retro Gamers Podcast with Larry. And you can check us out on Facebook.com/Retro Gamers Podcast, on Instagram at Retro Gamers Podcast, or on Twitter at Retro Gamers Pod. And you can listen to us or watch us wherever you listen to and watch podcasts.
Absolutely. And with us, we're going to be moving over. The better half is going to be moving over to Podbean very shortly. In fact, I believe this week. So be on the lookout, folks, for that.
Not just Podbean.
Well, no, our host site is moving to Podbean.
Yes.
We want to thank Spreaker. Actually, while I have Anthony here as well, because Retro Gamers is moving as well. Spreaker was tremendous, but we're going to try our hands with Podbean now. Really should be no change to you folks. There, for the better half, while I'm moving things over, just for maybe a day or two, there may be a slight disruption. But once that's over with, it's going to be cooking with gas. And we're looking forward to 2021.
And for our fans of the better half, I do apologize for the inconsistent scheduling. Larry and I are trying to keep a schedule here, but unfortunately with our schedules, our personal lives, I work nights, so it's not always easy for me to lay down a night where we're together. But keep your fingers crossed. I am trying to get to a morning shift, so once that's done, we'll be able to pick a night every other week to do our episodes.
It's going to be awesome. Frank, do you remember the Instagrams and the email and stuff like that?
I can't even remember what I had for breakfast, but basically the best way to get in touch with us is if you just look on Instagram and put the Better Half Podcast, you'll have it. And obviously Facebook / Better Half Podcast. Just look for our logo and my fat face, and you'll find us. Larry's on all social media at MOHR365.
Except Twitter.
Except Twitter, because
I'm not on Twitter anymore. I got blocked.
Obviously we're on Twitter as well. And if and our email, betterhalfpod1@gmail.com, I think. Rob knows it.
Yeah, Rob, can you send us the stats, Rob? Just really help us.
I'm afraid to move anything on my computer right now to look it up, because I just have a bad memory. I'm sorry. I have to write things down. So God forbid Larry wrote anything down, but I'm just saying.
Hey, I wrote lots of down. All right. Awesome.
That's it. So thank you very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed yet another very special episode of the Better Half Podcast.
And with that, I think we can all kiss, at least for the better half, kiss 2020 goodbye. We may squeeze out one more episode before the new year, but thank God.
I'm taking 2020, stuffing it in a 1940s refrigerator, and never opening it again.
2020 is the sherry of our lives.
We're going to duct tape it. We're going to throw it in a pit, and just forget about it forever, because this has been the worst year of my life. So I've been a teacher. Besides a job, I've been a teacher where my kids have have been affected by me being their teacher. So, and when they did go back to school, I'm afraid what they told their teachers that they learned, that because also I am a conspiracy theorist. So, yeah, Oswald did not act alone. Okay,
my dad told me that Hitler was a stupid bastard.
Does anyone know who Adolf Hitler is? He was a douchebag. Yep, that's right, Joseph. Very good. All right, guys, go enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yes.
And we'll talk soon. So,
later.
Thank you, guys.